Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
So, I'm a 23 female nanny. For the family I work for, there are 7 kids. Yes, 7. All ranging from 14 years old to 10 months old. I have been working for them for 8 months and never really had an issue. They are a good family for the most part, and key part here is the kids are all homeschooled, so they do not get at a lot. Unfortunately, that leads to mom and dad spoiling them quite a lot. And since I've started, I've had a bit of a discipline issue. They throw tantrums, throw things, and scream a lot. Finally, mom recently put on discipline because her tantrums led to me getting an injury. I was pushed down the stairs, so she implemented the timeout routine, and it was going well for almost everyone. And here is where the story truly begins. The second youngest is 2.5, almost 3. His tantrums are some of the worst, and instead of really disciplining him, she coddles. If he screams and yells, she just picks him up and gives him whatever he wants. He will also throw things and hit whoever is telling him no. Mom doesn't do anything. On Wednesday this week, mom had an appointment, and when he woke up from his nap and she wasn't there, he freaked out. I tried to calm him down by playing games, food, or reading books, but nothing worked. He just got louder and more aggressive. He even hit me and his siblings. Eventually, he woke the baby, and when I got to her, he tried to even hurt her. So, with no other real options working to calm him down, I picked him up, sat him on his bed, and said, "Time out. You don't have to behave this way. When you calm down, you can come out." He finally is calming down after several minutes, and mom comes home. She was quite upset that he got a timeout because she says that he is too young and doesn't know better. Now I understand he's young, but I've been a nanny for a while and I have learned 2 to 3 is normal age for discipline, so they learn to know better. I only do a minute per year and only goes longer if they can calm down, though I check in every minute. She was also upset I used his room as a timeout. Now that part I get and can understand that at this age, associating timeout with where he sleeps, I can agree we don't do that. But I had to ask, when he's acting like this, what do you want me to do? She said let me handle it. If I'm not there, give him what he wants. Not worth the fight. Okay, but what if it's something I can't give? She replied, if you can't just let him go through it, he'll calm down quickly. I looked at her like, are you serious? You do realize how he can be, right? But okay, cue malicious compliance. The next day, mom had another appointment and she was gone when he woke up. And of course, he wanted her and only her. I said, sorry, she's not here. Why don't we play a game? He screams no. I ask if he wants a snack. No, he screams and starts slapping in my hands. I ask to go read a book or go to his siblings' room for playtime, but he screams again and hits me in the face. I told him please don't hit me. So he screams in my face and goes off throwing things at me and everyone around and just goes off. I tell everyone to go to their rooms. I tried everything to calm him down and it didn't work, so I did exactly what she told me. Absolutely nothing. He continues his tirade, throwing things, pulling things off shelves, and screaming. I obviously kept him from things that would hurt him like glass, ceramics, and when he got on a table to push something I picked him up and put him down. Though he did bite me really hard when I did that. Not enough to bleed, but enough to leave a good mark. I let this go for about 15-ish minutes until mom came home. And when she did, he was still freaking out. She just knows what is going on. I explained the situation and told her I am just doing what she said, then letting him cry it out till he calms down. She said that's not what I meant. I asked what did she want, and she didn't really have an answer. I told her I couldn't use discipline and I couldn't calm him. He said to let him go. He'd calm down and he hasn't yet. I made sure anything dangerous wasn't taken away, but I didn't know what else I could do. Now, respectively, I could have picked up what he threw around, but I wanted her to see what he was capable of. and I wasn't going to risk getting hurt again from taking things away. She looked upset, but didn't say anything and just looked at him, still throwing his tantrum. The baby wakes up and goes to get her. When she comes back to try and calm him, he screams to pick him up, and he hits her and keeps going till she puts the crying baby on the ground and picks him up. I was kinda shocked she fit into it. I told her he's old enough to know what he's doing. He knows that he will get what he wants when he does these things, and it's only going to get worse. And if it's going to continue, I'm going to continue to do nothing because I won't risk getting hurt or the other kids in the process. I showed her my bite mark and she went pale a bit and said he did that. I said yes, he did that. She took a breath and said, "Why don't you go home for the day and I'll talk to Dad about this?" When I came to work this morning, there was a timeout chair for him, and I'm allowed to use it at my discretion. Edit. I only get paid $22 an hour and it's low. I'm quitting this job soon, or rather, I already did my last week in May. I promised I'd stay till then, and then I have a much better paying job backed up. And yes, I did get extra pay for the stairs incident, not the bite, but yes, for the stairs. It was a night that promised excitement, the kind you circle on your calendar month in advance. My friends and I have been looking forward to the concert for ages. The tickets a splurge we justified as a treat to ourselves for surviving another semester of college. The air buzzed with anticipation as we joined the sea of fans streaming into the venue, our spirits as high as the skyscrapers that framed the evening sky. As the opening act took the stage, the energy was infectious, with every note played echoing our own pulse. Between acts, we dart to the concession stand for overpriced snacks or to the restrooms to avoid missing any part of the main event. It was during one of these quick bathroom trips that my story took an unexpected turn. There I was, in the cramped stall, just about to head back, when I heard the click of a neighboring stall unlocking. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of a woman. Let's call her Karen, for the sake of the story, eyeing me strangely through the small gap in the stall door. I brushed off the odd feeling, attributing it to the general weirdness of public restrooms. As I washed my hands, I noticed Karen hovering a bit too close for comfort. My bag, momentarily left unguarded on a counter, seemed to draw her interest. Before I could process her intentions, she made a swift move for it. "Excuse me? What do you think you're doing?" I confronted her, my voice rising above the bathroom's ambient noise. "Oh, I thought this was my bag, dear. Easy mistake," Karen replied, her voice dripping with a condescension that did nothing to mask her lie. Clearly, it was no mistake. My bag was a unique patchwork design, a birthday gift from my sister, and not easily confused with the generic purses that populated most stores. "That's not going to fly. I saw you deliberately reach for my bag," I retorted, the disbelief and anger mounting with each word. Karen scoffed, her earlier fox politeness crumbling away. "Well, if you were more careful with your things, this wouldn't happen. You young people are so careless." The audacity of her words struck me. Not only was she attempting to steal from me, but now she was trying to blame me for her actions. The situation escalated quickly as voices raised, attracting the attention of others in the restroom. A couple of bystanders came over asking if everything was alright. Karen, sensing the tide turning against her, decided to play the victim. "This girl is accusing me of trying to steal her bag. Can you believe it? I was just trying to help," she exclaimed, looking for any shred of sympathy. One of the bystanders, a woman, probably in her late 20s, eyed Karen skeptically. "I saw the whole thing. You definitely went for her bag. Why don't we just wait for security to sort this out?" Karen's face blanched at the mention of security. It seemed the last thing she wanted was for this to escalate further, but it was too late. Someone had already alerted venue security, and within minutes a couple of officers were at the scene, asking for our versions of the story. The security team listened patiently, gathering statements from me, Karen, and the witnesses. It became clear to them and everyone else gathered that Karen had attempted to take something that wasn't hers. "I'm going to have to ask you to come with us," one of the officers said to Karen, his tone leaving no room for argument. "But I didn't do anything wrong. She's lying," Karen protested, her voice a mix of desperation and indignation. The evidence, however, was not in her favor. The witnesses corroborated my story, and the security footage from the hallway leading into the restrooms showed Karen eyeing me and following me in. They escorted Karen away while she's screaming. The concert, which had started as a carefree escape, had taken a detour into the surreal. My friends, having caught wind of the situation, rushed to my side, their concern quickly turning into outrage as I recounted the events. The rest of the night passed in a blur. The concert ended on a high note, the main act delivering a performance that momentarily swept away the evening's earlier drama. In the days that followed, I learned that Karen was charged with attempted theft. It turned out this wasn't her first attempt at such an act, but thanks to the quick actions of those around me, it would hopefully be her last for a while. As a flight attendant assigned to Karen's aisle, I was the one who bore the brunt of her entitled rage. From the moment she stepped onto the plane, she was demanding and disrespectful. "Excuse me, miss," she said, practically sneering at me as I greeted her at her seat. "I need extra pillows and blankets, and make sure they are the good ones, not the cheap ones." I tried to smile and be professional despite her rude tone. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we've run out of bows. Is there anything else I can do for you?" Karen's eyes narrowed and her voice took on a menacing tone. "You can go and find some for me, or you will be sorry." I knew I had to handle the situation carefully. "I apologize, ma'am, but it's not possible for me to get more pillows and blankets. Is there anything else I can do to make your flight more comfortable?" Karen huffed and crossed her arms. "Fine, but I expect top-notch service from you. Do you understand?" "Well, yes, ma'am," I replied, trying to keep my cool. But Karen's demands only got worse as the flight went on. She tried yelling at other passengers and threatening to have them thrown off the plane if they didn't do as she said. She demanded drinks and snacks and became increasingly angry when I couldn't fulfill her requests. She even demanded that I switch seats for her, even though the plane was completely full. It wasn't until Karen started threatening to hijack the plane that I knew I had to take action. She leaned in close to me, her voice dripping with venom. "If you don't do exactly as I say, I'll hijack this plane. Do you understand me? You don't want me to pull out my gun. I'll do it, I swear." I was terrified, but I knew I had to stay calm and report this threat to the captain. I approached him discreetly and whispered what Karen had said. His face turned grave and he made the difficult decision to divert the flight and request assistance from law enforcement. He said, "We have to land the plane and have her removed," trying to remain calm despite the seriousness of the situation. "Her behavior is completely unacceptable and she is putting the safety of everyone on this flight at risk." When we landed, the FBI agents stormed onto the plane and arrested Karen, dragging her off in handcuffs. I watched as they read her rights and led her away, her protests and threats falling on deaf ears. As she was taken away, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. I had never encountered someone as entitled and abusive as Karen, and I hoped I never would again. I personally didn't know exactly what happened to Karen, but from the little knowledge I have regarding hijacking planes, I know that threatening to hijack a plane is a serious crime that can carry severe penalties. In the United States, the penalty for making a threat to hijack an aircraft is up to 20 years in prison, as well as fines and other penalties. This crime is covered under federal law, and the penalties can be even more severe if the threat is carried out or if anyone is injured as a result. It's important to note that making a threat to hijack an aircraft is taken very seriously by authorities and will be thoroughly investigated. Even if someone is joking or making a threat in jest, they can still face criminal charges. It's never acceptable to make threats of any kind on an aircraft or in any other public place, and it's important to remember that such threats can have serious consequences. I've been a teacher for a decent chunk of years now, and let me tell you, I've seen my fair share of entitled students and parents. But what happened over the past few days? Well, that takes the cake. It's a story of justice, a bit of clever maneuvering by the school district, and a lesson in responsibility that I doubt will be forgotten anytime soon. Sit tight because this is a doozy. It all started on what seemed like a regular Tuesday. I was in the middle of explaining the intricacies of the Revolutionary War to my 8th grade history class when I noticed one of my students, let's call him Jake, was more interested in his iPhone 12 than in George Washington's military strategies. I've always had a policy about phones in class. They are a no-go unless we're using them for an educational app or activity. So naturally, I approached Jake and asked him to hand over the phone until the end of the class. Jake, with the confidence of someone who's never been told no, decided that wasn't going to happen. Instead of handing it over, he yanked it out of my hand with such force that it went flying across the room, right into the window. The sound of breaking glass filled the room, and all eyes were on a shattered window and Jake's now equally shattered iPhone on the floor. Fast forward a bit and the administration is involved. They are usually pretty lenient, hoping to resolve things without too much fuss, but Jake's parents, well, they were having none of it. They came storming in the next day demanding that I personally pay for Jake's phone. Their argument was that since it broke when I supposedly had it, I should be responsible. I tried to explain what really happened, but they kept insisting, "You better pay for my son's phone." Now here is where it gets good. The school district, after reviewing the security footage, statements from witnesses, and the whole 9 yards, decided they were going to stand up not just for me, but for the entire teaching staff. They acknowledged, technically, since the phone did get damaged in the melee, they cover the cost of the phone. Yes, they agreed to write a check for around $800 to replace Jake's iPhone 12. But oh, they didn't stop there. The administration, backed by the district, then sent Jake's parents a bill for the window. Their son's little stunt had not only disrupted the class, but now was going to disrupt their bank account to the tune of $1,678. It wasn't just any window, it was one of those specialized, hard-to-replace ones that made the bill so steep. The rationale? Once I let go of the phone, it was in Jake's possession, and thus, the window's destruction was on him. You should have seen the looks on their faces when they got the bill. It was a mixture of shock, disbelief, and realization that maybe, just maybe, their actions, and by extension their son's actions, had consequences. On top of the financial lesson, Jake was also given ISS, in school suspension, for the destruction of school property. The parents tried to argue, of course. They tried to spin it every which way to avoid taking responsibility, but the school stood firm, supported by the clear evidence and a testimony from the class. In the end, they had to pay for the window and Jake had to serve his suspension. This whole saga has been the talk of the staff room. It's not just about the satisfaction of seeing entitled behavior rightfully corrected. It's about a school district that decided to stand up for its teachers and enforce a lesson in accountability. As for Jake, I hope this experience teaches him something valuable about respect, responsibility, and the real-world consequences of his actions. And maybe his parents learned something too. Many moons ago, think early 2000s, I worked for a small tech company in the Midwest. I started out as a customer service rep. My husband also worked there in a higher level position in a different department. There was an office manager there who did not like me at all when I got hired. She originally was a billing rep and got moved to the office manager position when the original one who hired me quit. As an added note, her brother also worked there in the same department as my husband. I was pretty much a model employee. My stats were great, I was always on time, and customer feedback surveys were always glowing when I was on shift. However, it seemed like she had it out for me, because she was always trying to find something to nitpick about my performance. I divulged all this to my husband and he admitted that prior to us getting together and before I was hired, she had expressed interest in dating him, but he rejected her. I complained to the owner, but he pretty much just shrugged it off because she had been there forever and he didn't want to rock the boat. Come performance review time and she gave me a terrible review and a tiny raise, along the lines of everyone else on the team getting 50 cents to $1 per hour raise, and she gave me a nickel. About 6 months later, there was a big shake-up in the company and the general manager and the two higher-level people from my husband's department left to work at another company who did the same type of business. Shortly thereafter, a couple big accounts my boss was pursuing ended up going to the other company. Thinking that perhaps information about the accounts he was trying to land was leaked to another company, he sent a couple people home with pay for 2 days while he investigated, including the office manager who hated me. On day 2, he met with the team and confirmed there was no leak, so he would be bringing the workers back in. Cue petty revenge. I had found the office manager's blog some time ago, and she had been posting frequent updates since the shakeup. When she was sent home, she posted multiple updates about the situation, including how she figured the owner would screw up payroll, not pay taxes, and get in trouble with the IRS. She also posted some pretty derogatory things about the owner. She did make a feeble attempt to keep it anonymous by spelling everyone's names backwards and making up a fake name for the company, but it was very clear it was her and our company she was talking about. After the team meeting, I asked to meet with my boss alone and showed him all the posts. He dug in and found even more damning stuff she had written, including how she couldn't stand me and wanted to get me fired. I hadn't even seen that post until then. I couldn't contain my crab-eating grin when she returned to the office, only to be told to pack up her stuff and go. Within a year, I had a big pay pump and a promotion to management, and I assume she's off somewhere making people miserable.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.